as well. So at least there's now a dragon in hand for Ben. If he pulls another one, obviously that Dragon Operative is a pretty difficult card for the Druid to deal with. TingTing doesn't have the best of starts here. No Wild Growths, no Jade Blossoms, no Jade Idols, no Jade Spirits. Just a lot of answers.
And of course a very common decision, and a decision that maybe some people overlook, but not playing Cleric on turn 1, instead playing on turn 2 with the Power Word Shield, just to put yourself out of range of course, Wrath that can be detrimental.
Earthen Scales?
To a 3 health minion.
Earthen Scales comes through, but nothing, still nothing for TingTing to do. Probably just hero powers here. And you can see Ben, his cheeky little smile, telling you everything that you need to know about this Nether Spite Historian that he's got in hand as well, because now he gets early value from the Nether Spite Historian if he really wants it. But Cabal Talon Priest on 3, making a 1/8 Northshire Cleric.
And again, we didn't see the whole of Ben's Dragon Priest deck in the previous match, so we don't know if there isn't Inner Fire included. I don't think that a Dragon Priest would run one, but I have seen it been included here and there.
It seems like an odd win condition, right, to just stick a random Inner Fire in the Dragon Priest.
I mean, sometimes the Inner Fire can get insane value. Speaking of insane value, that's another operative for Ben as well. So from turn 5, this could get extremely interesting, but not too threatening of a board that TingTing has to be particularly worried about at the moment.
Just another innovate. I mean, this is just dead draw after dead draw for TingTing right now, and you can see even his face.
So is double innovate Drake just overkill here? I mean, you're offering up healing options, of course, for the cleric to draw cards, so I think that would be why you wouldn't go down that line.
But now Ben is going to start generating big beefy 5-drops. Insane value for a 5-drop as well. A 5/6 is good stats. Gadgetzan Auctioneer with Powered Shield and Potion of Madness in hand sounds quite nice.
We said Jade Priest. I mean...
yeah, Jade Priest. We could see... How about you Fandral this turn, then hope that you draw a Jade Idol next turn, and suddenly you become a Jade Priest.
Auctioneer, clearly the optimal decision.
There's the Wild Growth. 5 turns too late. Still nothing for TingTing to play. Is this the point where he has to say swipe, coin, Wrath, deal with one of the 5/6s? I mean, there's just nothing. And I don't think he's played a card yet. I think he's played 0 cards, and he's getting to the point where he's going to have to play a card at some point. Otherwise, he's just going to overdraw. Do you point this? At this point, Dan, do you just say, okay, I just have to Wild Growth and just hope that I get something in the next turns to make value of all this crazy amount of mana that I've got?
I think you do just Wild Growth. I mean, you could save it for later, and you're like, okay, well, I've got enough cards. It's a very awkward turn.
It is.
And you might, he might have to use one of these Feral Rages just to deal with the board at hand.
He's going to take 5 damage to face. Kind of almost did its job. Dragon of Operative can come down next turn as well, and with a Power Word Shield to make it even harder to deal with.
May decide to keep the Power Word Shield just for the Auctioneer.
I like Earthen Scales on this one, because it gives you more options with Auctioneer. You could take Nourish as well for card draw, but given that you've got Auctioneer, getting low-cost spells seems really good.
Earthen Scales can also help out as a surprise factor with dealing with minions. Some people aren't expecting it. You're definitely not going to expect it.
Wrath probably a bit more versatile, though.
Yep, very versatile. Makes a lot of sense. Now Ben has a decision, as you said, whether does he play the Power Word Shield now or does he save it for that Auctioneer? With the Wrath being in hand, he could use it now and then wait to use the Auctioneer on turn 8 with Wrath. And that's the decision that's made. More card draw, and this board getting scary. TingTing still little to nothing to play.
There's a Jade.
There's a 1/1 Jade you can throw on the board.
So again, this is what we said could happen between the Dragon Priest and the Jade Druid. If you can get those big minions out in the middle of the game where the Druid hasn't been able to generate much value yet, hasn't been able to generate many Jades, hasn't pulled ahead in terms of mana value either. I mean, now TingTing is forced to put the Primordial Drake down because there is nothing else that he could do. And that is a terrible Primordial Drake also.
It is of 4 attack, though, and the famous meme against priests, they struggle to deal with anything
it's
that
not even
has
a
4
meme.
attack.
That's just true.
It's just honest, yeah. Double Cleric means he can get a lot of card draw here as well. The Wrath that he picked up earlier deals with this Drake very easily. And slowly but surely, this Dragon Priest, is just spiraling out of control. And it's, as you said, it's what we spoke about back in the previous meta, that if it can do this, Jade Druid can just struggle.
Well, Swipe's actually going to be useful here. He also has the potential to coin out the Jade Spirit and start finally getting something on board. I don't think you hold on. What are you holding onto that coin for now? Maybe Gadgets and Auctioneer. But apart from that, I think just Jade Spiriting is perfectly fine. You're still behind, but at least now you're putting something down.
Options, you could Bookworm, you could Shadow Word Pain. I guess Bookworm generates more board presence. I kind of like just Bookworm and then heal up. Draw two more.
Perfectly. I think Bookworm is perfectly fine.
You got the option later of Potion of Madness to maybe even help out with Lethal, because the next Jade is, you know, is going to be a 2-2, so it's definitely something that you could be attacking with potentially. Draw first, very smart decision. And now Bookworm.
Actually, how many cards? He's got 9 cards in hand right now, so
yeah, he's okay.
He's okay for the moment. Not going to be able to draw any more following this, likely, unless he's playing 2 cards a turn. There's Gluttonous Ooze. If only TingTing had a way to heal, he'd start overdrawing the Priest.
And still just a clunky hand for TingTing. The Wild Growth doing nothing, can't draw until 10. Gluttonous Ooze doing nothing except being a 3-3. Could Earthen Scales with it, just if he's panicking, if he's worried about being killed this turn. But famously, Priest really struggles when it comes to damage from hand. I say famously, I mean now we've had things like Silence Priest that can just blow you out of the water. But I think you just put Elise down, you deal with the board, you continue to go face. And you've said it a couple of times already today, Druids really struggle to deal with wide boards.
Yeah, it's something they've always been pretty terrible at. When they lost Force of Nature, they lost potential for board clear, because Force of Nature used to be considered a piece of board clear as well. And now you really only have Swipe, and no one runs anything like Starfall, so because it's just a bad card. So just boards that go wide, especially boards that go wide that have more than 1 health in every minion, Druid's just a very, very tough to deal with.
Ben using the Potion of Madness just to clear up his hand a little bit to allow him to continue drawing cards. Endless Shadow Visions.
Just keep going with the Shadow Visions.
What's he looking for?
More Shadow Visions.
But why? No, that's what he was looking for. There it is. The Ungoro pack as well.
The copied Ungoro pack.
Just in case there is some sort of removal from TingTing. But there's not going to be, and the concede will come out. Ben will continue his fine form from the previous round as he goes 1-0 up, and TingTing just wasn't able to generate anything. He got into the car, he turned on the ignition, and then just didn't start it. Didn't put his foot down at all. It's a shame, really. Good analogy. I was going to say...
Thanks, bud.
Never mind.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Thanks, bud.
The moment's done.
And that was kind of what we expected. Like, the Dragon Priest, you know, we talked about it. It classically has been considered pretty decent against Jade Druid, especially if Jade Druid isn't getting that perfect start of generating Jade Idols over and over again. The problem is that he had an awful hand. I mean, that was a terrible hand for TingTing. It was all answers, and there wasn't really many good things being thrown out for those to be used. I was going to say questions again. I've said that so many times tonight. I'm not going to say it again. But once those Draconid Operatives came down, it's such a difficult minion for the Druid to deal with. No mulch anymore, remember. So you can't just spot remove a minion. No one plays Naturalize, because in general it's a pretty awful card because it gives your opponents more options. So, you know, once those Draconid Operatives came down, it was so difficult for the Jade Druid to deal with it because they had no board generating cards in hand. And TingTing was just left way behind because he didn't even have Wild Growths early on either.
Yeah, finding that second operative from the Historian proved to be vital.
Here's a matchup.
Moving to the second game.
Here's a matchup that should go better for him.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen Quest Warrior win this, but typically when you are generating Jades that are too big for Die Insect to deal with, so if they become 9-9s, 10-10s, 11-11s, I've been to a point where they become 15-15s. That's how close the game goes and how late the game can possibly go with all the removal and all the answers that the Warrior does have. But if the Warrior can gain out of control, gain too much board presence, and TingTing were to have a hand like he'd had before, then possibly it's a win here for the Quest Warrior.
Well, I always found that Quest Warrior wins this by being a bit more tempo orientated, just shoving down taunts after taunts, and then eventually getting to Sulfuras before the Jade Odders get to the point where they even can contest against an 2-mana 8 damage hero power. So
Yeah, go wide against the
Exactly. Just start shoving things down. Unfortunately, Ben doesn't really have anything early on here, really having to wait until turn 4 before he can even consider coining out a taunt at this point in turn. So it's going to give time over to TingTing, who's now got Jade Blossom. He has got Jade Idol. He's got Nourish.
Yeah, Jade Blossom into Nourish next turn.
That seems good.
I mean, there may have been some sort of consideration in his mind for Gluttonous Ooze, but you know you're going to get value out of it in this matchup. You're not worried about putting a 3-3 on the board just yet, because that 3-3 could be punished by a Fiery War Axe, of course, and then you just be flustered.
I think because it's Warrior, you know that you want to keep hold of Gluttonous Ooze, because you know you're going to see... You know that you're going to see a weapon at some point, and you're not going to win by playing tempo. You'd play it on 3 to gain tempo, right? You're not going to win this matchup by playing tempo. You win by generating giant Jades. So you save it to get rid of a weapon, including Sulfurous as well. You know, that could be very valuable. Wild Growth, he's got Nourish. I mean, there's so many options here for TingTing. Kind of the hand that I think he wished he had in the previous game.
So options here, you could Wild Growth, Jade Idol, and just Hero Power. Or just go for the Nourish. I kind of like Nourish here.
You go for cards, right? Because you want to start getting towards Jade Behemoth. Anything else that starts getting Jades on board. Yeah,
Jade Behemoths are just so annoying to play against. They're such a frustrating card, and they always seem to come out at the worst moments. I suppose that's if you're playing aggro. That's when they become really frustrating. Stonehill Defender was actually a really nice pickup here for Ben.
It was indeed.
It means he didn't have to coin out his Direhorn Hatchling, and instead can just put stuff on the board. It deals with the 1-1. There are no immediate threats he has to worry about from TingTing right now.
So what does TingTing do here? You've got the option of Fandral, Jade Idol, but I don't like doing Jade Idol until you've got Gadgets and Auctioneer, because the problem is that, especially at this point in the game, when your Jade Idols are just so low, drawing a 1-mana generate a really poor low-level Jade Idol just feels bad, and it kind of just puts cards in the way of your good cards. So kind of like where this just generate a lot more mana, double Wild Growth, puts himself well ahead. He's 4 mana ahead of Ben right now, which is huge. Huge, but he has to do something with that mana to make it worth it.
Yeah, he needs to be able to deal with a board that Ben is probably going to build up across a few turns here. Does have a swipe in hand, does have a Feral Rage as well. Won't be too worried about the armor in this matchup, but it is a matchup that has the potential to go down to the wire. There's the second swipe as well, even more removal that TingTing may need. Not sure it's necessary right now, because it's not a particularly threatening board from Ben. As you said earlier, could go for Fandral into the Jade Idol if he sees fit, into Feral Rage if he wants as well.
He could Fandral into Nourish.
Fandral into Nourish into Jade Idol.
Yeah. I mean, what would you be hoping to draw? Maybe you'd be hoping to draw... That's just going to Jade Idol. Is that his second Jade Idol? Doesn't mean he can no longer generate... Can no longer generate Jade Idols with the Gadgets and Auctioneer to continue the excessive long Jade Idol chain. That was his second Jade Idol. No, it wasn't. It was his first Jade Idol because it was Jade Blossom that came down first. Yeah, I was thinking, goodness me, like, what have I just witnessed?
Yeah, thankfully was just the first one. If that was the second one, then that would have been a huge mistake, because those Jade Idols are so important in this matchup.
He's 3 out of 7 right now. Board control firmly in Ben's favor. There's another Jade Spirit.
So this Fandral isn't getting insane value.
No.
You could go Fandral into Feral Rage into Hero Power to deal with this Tar Creeper, if you see it as an annoyance.
You just know that it dies next turn, though.
Yeah. I mean, Fandral, where's its value coming from? It's usually those Jade Idols, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Nourish as well. You could potentially Fandral into Nourish and hope to find some Jade Idols.
For sure.
Perhaps that's a little bit too risky.
I don't think I'd like shuffling my Jade Idols into my deck this early on, like I said, though. I think you hold on to Fandral until later. I really like it with Gadgets and Auctioneer. If you somehow get Gadgets and or Fandral to stick, then you can Auctioneer the next turn or Fandral the next turn. Looks like we are going to see Gluttonous Ooze. It's going to get that value on the Fiery War Axe. And the Feral Rage will come down to deal with this. So it was just TingTing's way of clearing the board entirely. Now there's a 3-3 on board for Ben to deal with. But Ben has got plenty of things in hand right now. Got Bloodhoof Brave, got Acolyte of Pain, Bloodhoof Brave. Well, I think that's just the play, right? Bloodhoof Brave, Acolyte of Pain. I was about to say Ravaging Ghoul, but it doesn't really feel like it's worth it.
And there's a race element in this matchup as well. It's I want to complete my quest before your Jade Idols get too scary.
Absolutely.
So TingTing's just thinking, right, how do I get my Jades as big as possible? Now he's going to try and get his value out of the Nourish as well.
And you can use Jade Blossom here as well, because you've got 3 mana, so you can generate another Jade. There's the Innovate. There's Tar Creeper, so he's not going to do anything too fancy with the Jade Blossom. He's going to hold on to that. Gadgetzan Auctioneer next turn with Innovate, Jade Blossom, 2 spells being available. Probably why he kept hold of it.
Yeah, if Fandral does survive, then there is potential for a very nasty turn coming up. If Auctioneer does draw, or even if he draws 1 Raven Idol. Raven Idol? Jade Idol, sorry. Completely different card. Even if he draws 1 Jade Idol.
Starts to pop off, right?
Starts to pop off, indeed.
So you can't actually deal with Fandral this turn. That's one thing that's going in TingTing's favour here.
Not yet.
No executes. Maybe looking for an execute off the back of this Acolyte.
Yeah, he's got
he's got Battle Rage as well. You're assuming that you're going to draw an execute here. Can't actually use it though. So, but draws a lot of cards and great value off that Battle Rage. Feels like Patron Warrior all over again.
Yeah, the Battle Rage has been included in a lot of decks now in the Quest Warrior. It wasn't included at first. There were people kind of dipping in and out of it. And there are still a couple of variants that are slightly different, and those are the kind of cards that do just come and go.
Do you think this is almost too insane not to Primordial Drake, right? Yeah, I think that was almost too insane to ignore. Means Fandral is kind of weak to another Primordial Drake or anything that does 2 damage, really. But TingTing won't be too worried about that. He just dealt with an entire board in one fell swoop. The only issue that I think TingTing is facing here is it's very close to Sulfuras being finished. And we have yet to get to the high levels of Jade Idol.
Yeah, those Jades are pretty small still.
I think we have to start using... I think this is time to pop off.
Can he draw anything significant?
He's got a couple of chances here. There's a Wrath. Nothing hugely significant just yet, though.
No, I think you had to Jade Blossom there, and that will just kill off this turn because there isn't another Innovate. But that's 3 minions that can spout out Jades. So TingTing has heard the call of Sulfuras and said, well, I need to start putting those Jades on the board ASAP. Primordial Drake does deal with this board very effectively, just leaving 1 Jade available, but that is the quest completed.
I think this is good for Ben. He's in a great position in this game now.
So if a Brawl was drawn for Ben, then this could get very tasty, because now TingTing is going to be feeling slightly rushed to get these Jades on board. He's going to go wide.
Exactly, and that's a really good way of putting it, Dan. He's going to feel rushed. There's no other way about it. This is a really tough position for the Jade Droid to be in, because you're not above that 8 health, that magical 8 health value yet for the Jades. You're really, only with what you've got in hand, you're only going to get them to 7 health. So, you know, you are feeling very, very pressured at this point in time. And Sulfuras will come down. And I mean, look at Ben's hands. He could practically play whatever he wants at this point in time. He's got options galore.
So
actually,
is there options to Ravaging Ghoul into Sleep with the Fishes, possibly, to deal with this board?
You would deal with... Yeah, I think, yeah, everything pretty much gets dealt with here. Goodbye, Jades. No need for Brawl.
Unfortunately, it does leave 1 Jade up. The Die Insect has a chance to take that out, which it does.
I think TingTing might be thinking, I have to go wide again. Jade Behemoth, Jade Spirit, just keep churning.
Yeah, get those Jades to an 8/8.
And then hope that you draw Nourish next turn or something, or another Gadgetzan, because some people do run 2.
But because Ben has managed to get this far ahead, it means that he can start to drop minions now with a little bit of value, whilst also churning out 8 damage per turn.
Exactly. If that 8 damage goes face, however, TingTing will feel happy. I mean, it's a low chance. It's a 1 in 5, right? Depending on what gets dealt with.
Still no Brawl though. Brawl would be massive. Not going to come out.
So, do you Die Insect first and see what you hit and then think about, or do you deal with the 3/6 first, then use Die Insect to guarantee, or at least give yourself a higher chance of dealing with the 7/8?
So this is this is a wide board, and if Ben had a brawl, it would potentially be game over here and now, but
oh, that's a good target.
2-3.
It's a good target. And actually, that's, you know, now forcing Ben to start shoving taunts down because there's a 7 and 8 on board.
Yeah, he just needs to build a wall here.
Yeah.
And TingTing is going to mow that wall down very comfortably with the giant minions that he has.
And he's got a lot of direct damage in hand as well. He's got the swipe, he's got the wrath, both of which can be used to clean up taunts here and there.
Is it just straight up lethal with swipe and wrath?
I don't think it is. I think it's close, but not quite. Is that
double wrath, however?
Wait a second. Swipe. No, okay, wait. Swipe 4 damage, 3. It's really close, but I don't think it's quite there.
No, he can't. I don't think he can get through that 6-9 with just this spell damage.
He can't. Which means you might end up wrathing for card draw now.
Yeah, you look for more options. You don't immediately need to search for lethal. Earthen Scales as well is just going to generate more armor and give you more time.
I think you need to get more minions on board though, which is I think is what TingTing's thinking about. Like, do I just now wrath again for draw? Because I think he genuinely needs to get some more on board, because this could be his chance to take the game. If he doesn't get another minion on board, doesn't go a bit wider, that insect could be a real issue for him. As a Jade Idol, at least.
But that's his second Jade Idol.
Yeah, and
so he really needs to shuffle that. You make a decision here. Do you shuffle it or do you play it?
Can you afford to shuffle it, though?
We'll see the decision. I mean, in theory, shuffling it makes sense, but at this point, you just put it on the board.
I don't think you can afford to shuffle it. I think that was the right decision. Dirty Rat and Brawl comes through.
Oh, no, Brawl.
But this could be devastating, because if Brawl lands one of the 9/9s, that's it.
And that was why the hesitation.
That's why he's thought, maybe I don't Brawl, because it's doing like a half 50-50 chance that I just straight up lose.
Yeah, he might have to Bloodhoof Brave into Ravaging Ghoul, perhaps, and then Sulfurous. But no, instead he's just continuing to build that wall. And this is why the Jade Druid can be so scary as a quest warrior.
But you're drawing duds now for TingTing. It's he's got nothing but no option other than just to shove these in. Now Die Insect is going to get some value back.
If there is a way to stabilize for Ben, then...
How many swipes have we seen, by the way?
I believe we've seen 2.
You believe we've seen 2?
But I don't have a deck tracker available, unfortunately.
I'm just wondering, because there is always that option for a top deck of swipe lethal. Oh, perfect.
This
top
is
deck.
The thing. This is... If there's a possible stabilization, that Jade Idol was used, and it means there's not going to be Jade Idol after Jade Idol.
There's Gadgets and Auctioneer. What does he draw? You're right, though. I mean, how many cards has he got left? I don't think he's got that many cards left. He's
one card. This is why I was like...
Yeah, but I mean, I think TingTing was forced into that position where he might not have had a choice at that point in time.
So this is it. It's do or die now. But there is a brawl.
There is a brawl, and that's... I mean, it's not a great brawl, though, because you then are playing the 50-50 game again. Are you forced into that?
But you can still play Dirty Rat following to absorb any damage. Is going to be the Behemoth winning it.
That's great, because now Dirty Rat doesn't get dealt with. Die Insect will go face. Oh, this is... I mean... TingTing now has to play like a multiple sets of 50-50 games to actually win this game. And again, there's more taunts that will come down. I think this is over for TingTing. That Jade Idol, I know you're looking at me like that.
I'm not saying that. Like, you went down the same thought process he did. He's a pro player for a reason.
I think you're right, though. Now, what I'm saying, if you let me finish my sentence, Dan.
Sorry.
I think there was cause to say, if you knew what was, if you knew that Gadgets and Auctioneer was there, could you have afforded to hold on? The problem is, remember that you are only generating... Then you could generate endless Jade Idols at that point. Yeah, this is that was a really difficult decision to make, because he basically had the option of trying to win that turn and saying, if this goes my way this turn, like, I can actually win the game right here. Maybe he thought that he didn't have the time to hold on for another 2 turns.
He took a risk, and it could have paid off if Die Insect had hit face, for example, rather than one of those minions. Then maybe he could have got away with it.
Yeah.
It was a very bold and a very brave decision. I personally would have shuffled it because I think even if I don't like to take the risks necessarily in that situation. I would have shuffled it saying, my win condition, if this all goes pear-shaped, is just Jade Idol after Jade Idol and hope that it doesn't go.
I think he
he
had a large health pool to work with, right? He probably could have afforded to tank a couple of those Die Insects to face before he got to the point where it became Jade Idol, Jade Idol, you know, Jade Idol, Jade Idol, Jade Idol, Jade Idol. So I think
Sounds like a good song.
Jade Idol, Jade Idol, Jade Idol.
No?
No. I think you're right. I think there was potentially cause to say. And I was wondering whether it was one or two auctioneers. My thought process there was that maybe he didn't run two auctioneers. Maybe it was just the singular auctioneer version where he then had to play that Jade Idol in order to give himself the best chance of winning from that point. But I think that was a really tough decision to make. Like you had no cards in hand. Jade Idol shuffling is a win condition for the Jade Druid in pretty much every control matchup. Do you take the risk of taking the 10-10 on board right there and winning, and potentially winning, or do you try and play to that win condition of the Jade Idol shuffling, but try and tank a couple more turns with literally no minions on board, where Die Insect is going to go face every time? I can't go back and do the maths to calculate whether it would have been lethal over the course of the turns if he had just let his minions die and hoped to get towards that auctioneer. That's a really difficult thing to actually go back and look at, but I'm assuming TingTing just said that I don't think I can hold on for that amount of
It's
turns.
definitely something that TingTing will be going back, and he will be looking at. But what he is looking at the moment is a 2-0 deficit against Ben, and Ben has his Paladin. I believe Ben has taken a quick toilet break, so we're just going to have a little natter for a little bit. Let's talk about Paladin. What do you think his chances are? Winning 1 in these 3 games against Warrior, Mage, and Druid, which we know we're all kind of targeting that Gunther Mage.
Ben's Paladin is a more mid-range actual Murloc Paladin, isn't it? It is a full Murloc package. It's got the War Leader, it's got the Valfin Inquisitor. If you get off to an early start against Jade Druid with this Paladin deck, if you get off to an early start even versus the Taunt Warrior with this deck, it can be very difficult for them to find their way back in. I think Taunt Warrior probably has better options for answers. Got the Sleep with the Fishes, got with the Brawls, got the Whirlwinds, got the Ravaging Ghouls. But the Jade Druid, if you can get that early start rolling, you go wide as heck with this Murloc board. I think that gives you a massive win condition there. Unsure about the Gunther Mage matchup. It depends on how much early board clear that he runs. Like, is it a Volcanic Potion variant, or is it,
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so, there is potential options to win there. But I genuinely think that there is, in all likelihood, Ben will pick up a win with this Paladin over the course of the next 3 games.
I think the odds are definitely good.
The odds are in his favour.
Yeah. But in the position of playing the Paladin personally, I have been in a situation where I have lost a Quest Warrior. I have lost Gunther Mage. I have lost a Druid as well. They definitely can win.
I mean, with this opening hand, though, it's pretty solid.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a very juicy opening hand, and TingTing needs something to answer it. Just a Frostbolt at the moment. Primordial Glyph is always a good answer as well, because you can find and discover something relevant to what's on board and what you can see in front of you. But when these Murlocs do start to gargle out of control, it does get slightly concerning for their opponent.
That was a beautiful way of putting it, my friend.
Thank you.
Gargle out of control. Do you regularly do that?
Yeah.
Mouthwash?
All the time. Stay safe, kids. Use your mouthwash. The Glyph will have to come out.
I can tell you, coming from a dentist, mouthwash is good.
You're a dentist?
No.
I thought you were a doctor.
Dentist.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm with you. I'm going to the dentist tomorrow. But anyway, the Rockpool Hunter is such a devastating turn 2 card. Yeah, yeah.
You getting clean?
Yeah, just getting a little bit of clean, yeah.
Very good. That's good. Keep that dental hygiene up, Dan. Do you know what else is good? Frostbolt. Frostbolt and Mana Worm as well.
I mean, that's where he kept it. It doesn't always feel great having to use Burn on minions, but with the Gunther Mage, it can generate so much of Burn because the Discover mechanics that come through.
So, I would likely be hovering towards Noble Sacrifice here, because while Getaway Kodo is great for Archaeologist, not so great for Valfin Inquisitor.
Ooh.
It's kind of giving away that it's definitely noble sacrifice.
It is indeed. Blood Mage Thanos plus Arcane Missiles could make short work of this whole board if everything hits perfectly, but it's not going to happen.
But does hit 3 out of 4, which gives him the hero power too.
And now TingTing can just make the decision not to attack.
Exactly, because he can trade his Blood Mage Thanos in and get a free card draw as well. Consecration does deal with the board if he wants to, but Stonehill Defender does look nice as well. Saves his Consecration for something more worthwhile later on. And, well, Tyrion Fordring screams value, but Primordial Drake could come in use as well.
Yeah, a second Fordring for the deck is always something that's impossible to really pass up.
Do you floss, Dan?
Yeah.
You look like you floss.
Thanks, mate.
You've got great teeth.
They're okay for a Brit.
I want to get past that stereotype. I think we actually have good dental health these days. Just because we don't veneer our teeth like the Americans, you know.
Molten Reflection. Don't think that's going to come into hand.
Do you not like dental talk, Dan?
I mean, I don't mind it. I feel like I need to steer off it every now and then. Otherwise, we could have a massive conversation about fillings.
Molten Reflection seems pretty good for 2 mana, and you've got at least the Trailblazer in hand, but he's actually just going to do it to get a 5-1 on board.
Just keep the pressure up, not allow the Paladin to spiral out of control. The Outdoor Peacekeeper can deal with it very comfortably, but it always feels awkward using an Outdoor Peacekeeper onto a Mana Worm, because then that Mana Worm can just continue to become bigger with spells. So a Consecration is probably, Concentration is going to come on down. Come on down!
Come on down to Real Fake Consecration. Are you a Rick and Morty fan, Dan?
I am.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole charade there. Trust me, I get carried away with the whole fake doors thing. Get your real fake doors.
I think what's important...
Fake doors over here, Dan.
What's important is that TingTing has been able to put Elise down on an empty board as well.
I've become the worst caster to ever have been hired.
I mean, I don't allow Twitch chat to make that decision.
No, okay, back on track. I'm okay with the at least the Trailblazer inclusion here. Is this going to be a Medivh type mage? A little bit more focused.
Medivh has been used in Gunther.
Yeah, so a little bit further up the sort of control end of it, you know, where you're just getting insane value out of Medivh with the Flame Strike there as well. Potentially, going to draw a secret out. Ice Barrier is the one. Now has the choice between Ice Block and Ice Barrier, but place the Ice Barrier here and trade into the Curator. So but look at Ben's hand, Dan.
Okay.
I thought it was about to mention, so I just thought I'd set you up. But I mean, there's plenty of options, and obviously Tyrion next turn. But this turn, what are you thinking? Ivory Knight?
Are you just gonna say every card he hoppers over?
Yeah. It's got to that point.
Coda will deal with the Archaeologist, and TingTing's just been able to keep this board control, which is something that Ben's wanted for the entirety of the game, of course, as you would. If he can just keep a couple of minions, even if they're low health, low attack, the Sunkeeper Tarim could come in and get real value. It's a pretty nice hand from Ben, as you said. Yeah. There is a lot of options. Eye for an Eye, of course, is a fantastic pickup as well from the Hydrologist. Could come very much in handy later on if he can get TingTing down to 1 and force him to kill himself.
If you get a draw in a competitive game with Eye for an Eye, do you replay that game?
Yes, you do.
That's amazing.
Or at least I do. I know you do within other competitions, but I imagine you do. Yes, you do within the Premiership as well.
That's great. I just, obviously, we don't generally tend to see much draws because Eye for an Eye hasn't really been played considerably much throughout Hearthstone meta, but now, especially against Freeze Mage and Gunther Mage, it actually has some value here for the Secret Paladin, especially if they're setting up for Pyroblast and you can get them to below 10 HP as well. You can actually force a draw by playing Eye for an Eye.
That's what I love about Hydrologist, is that it has included, and it's made Eye for an Eye viable. It's not enough, really, to be putting in your deck and wasting one card slot, but the fact that you can just pick it up for free is always going to be a good thing.
Here comes Sunkeeper Tarim.
My favorite card.
I think it's a great card. Actually, I think a lot of people, again, counted it out. But it has been fantastic. Both dealing with threats. It's a bit like Keeper of Alderman in a lot of ways, but it can also be far more effective as well. Meteor comes out as another card that has seen some play here and there, especially in Gunther Mage. Like we said earlier, Reynad runs 2 copies of it.
Well, so much so that people are now playing around Meteor when they think about their card placement. Making sure they put their smaller minions in the middle and the bigger minions out on the wide.
And there is the Medivh as well. So it is that sort of later focused Gunther Mage. Medivh will come through. And he's got so many big value spells in hand as well. I mean, that's a 7-mana minion, a 7-mana minion, and even if you wanted to, a 10-mana minion.
That's another Tyrion.
That's another Tyrion, though. So you got to say that's pretty good. Double Tyrion on board.
Although you Drake here.
Yeah, I think you. I don't think you play 2 Tyrions though, because obviously you don't want to waste Ashbringer charges.
Of course. We'll just run into Ice Barrier. So TingTing generating a little bit of armor. So now, the option, you have a possible option of just Pyroblasting here. You want something to combine with this Firelance Portal, really.
Yeah, something like a Frostball would be great. That's pretty solid as well, though.
Yeah, you just put that in. There is an Ivory Knight available, though, for Ben, which will definitely be played now, and he'll be looking for serious value out of this. We saw Dino Size being picked up by TingTing in his first game. Combined with Wicker Flame was just unreal.
It was pretty insane. I think that was one of my favorite games that I cast today.
They're not the best options, though.
Blessing of Kings will give him the option to deal with Alexstrasza. So you can trade his Primordial Drake into Alexstrasza, but he's actually just going to use the Outdoor Peacekeeper. But I think Blessing of Kings is probably the most versatile of options there.
And it heals you up for 4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Importantly, Humility, of course, does the same thing as the Outdoor Peacekeeper, but you need as much health as possible in Ben's shoes.
Blessing King's Ben looking to push lethal the following turn if TingTing can't deal with this board. So you must feel like Flame Strike is a thought here for TingTing, especially following Cabal Courier.
Frost Nova helps.
Frost Nova Darkshadow Alchemist could also be useful as a pretty solid 5-drop. Kazakus, unfortunately, not likely to be considered. But Frost Nova definitely helps.
Yeah, I don't know how much TingTing is tracking his deck, but I'm sure there are a couple of copies left. There are some situations where you can discover Kazakus late on, and it can still have insane value because you have used all your duplicates. But I think Frost Nova seems like the ideal pickup.
But do you Flame Strike this turn now? I think Flame Strike, for me, you're going to get pretty good value out of it. I like the Flame Strike here. Because you just leave a 4/4 on board at that point.
Yeah, I think I like Flame Strike here as well. And you're going to summon a 7-cost minion.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, because he was just dead if he did that, unless he got a taunt from the 7 mana.
I wonder how much mind games was that from TingTing to say, I've got some direct damage.
How close are we here with Spike Ridge Steeds? That's +6. He can do 15 damage. 15 damage this turn.
Gotta remember, important thing is that eye for an eye as well.
Absolutely. I mean,
if Ben can even just get him below 10.
I like it. Do you know, I actually like getting him to 5 and then just playing eye for an eye.
I mean, if TingTing's smart, he would just ping to test for the eye for an eye and just save the Pyroblast for another time.
Yeah, it's true. You kind of want to play it on the turn where they have no option but to play Pyroblast.
You want to play it when you know they're setting up for a Pyroblast turn.
Because then you can either delay the Pyroblast turn or outright just kill them. But yeah, I think... Oh, it's such a this is a difficult one. I mean, you could use your True Silver charge, so you use your Ashbringer charge and then just play another Tyrion.
Yeah, Tyrion is certainly a possibility. Could go for Blessing of Kings if you would like. He's just going to opt to clear what he can of this board with the Drake. And now TingTing wants damage. Something like a Fireball would be good. Oh, an Unguro pack.
How good is that going to be?
What could that find you? What kind of direct damage could it find you?
Do you want a 2-cost minion, though?
It could find you some glyphs.
Nesting Rock.
The menagerie is for guests only.
And then the Curator, and then you just play Frost Nova here? Or do you need to play Frost Nova with the Curator on board?
Another thing he's thinking is, do I want to play a 3-mana spell that's going to summon a 3-mana minion? The answer is no. Not something you need to be worried about. You're not immediately worried about a threat coming through from Ben at the moment.
Spike Ridge Steed is good. Blessing of Kings, probably good to just make it even harder for TingTing to get through this. Spike Bridge Steed provides 2 taunts though.
And True Silver to face or to xl3en?
Looks like it's to deal with xl3en.
Nope.
Nope, to face. Okay, so that means that it definitely puts him within self-Pyroblast range.
If he were to play an eye for an eye next
And it also
turn.
sets up a 2-turn lethal. I remember Firebat saying on stream once that if you can search for a 2-turn lethal, you do it. Because it puts the pressure on. Polymorph is a great pickup.
Is huge.
Terrible 3-drop, but great Polymorph.
You polymorph this 100%. Easy ping to deal with it, and then you continue to go face. And it's kind of a race here, because...
Oh, it's going to be an eye for an eye turn, though, isn't it, if you ping face?
No, eye for an eye's not been played yet.
Ah, I know, yeah, true. I wonder if he was pinging face to set up for Pyroblast.
I don't, unless it comes to desperate measures, Ben won't play that eye for an eye until he gets TingTing down to 1 HP. Because then he just flat out wins.
It's very true. Ooh, if he had pinged face here, would he have had lethal? No, because of the True Silver charge.
Options.
He's still got, obviously, Ice Block to get through, and another Ice Block in hand here. Angoro Pack seems like a pretty solid pickup first.
Where's the discover screen for that one? Maybe that's something we need to introduce. No crazy cards being picked up from the Angoro Pack.
Is this desperate measures time now?
So there's no way for Ben to do any damage from hand.
But he can play Spike Ridge Steed, meaning that it's difficult. So basically, TingTing's playing the game of even if he plays eye for an eye, because he knows that he's held onto a secret for the entire game, so he's assuming it's eye for an eye. What he's saying here is he can get at least 2 damage to face if no taunts come down, and then he can Pyroblast. So proc eye for an eye if it comes down, and then Pyroblast. If Ben is to play Spike Ridge Steed, and then eye for an eye...
Yeah, I think that might have to be the play. He knows he's just dead otherwise. It's not going to feel great because you know that TingTing can play around it, and TingTing has ice blocks and stuff to just wait and play patiently.
You need to play Spike Ridge Steed here to not die. Or you need to Blessing of King's Ethereum.
How confident is he?
I think he doesn't do it. He doesn't play eye for an eye.
I think you have to.
Well, yeah, because you're dead now.
But I mean, even if I hadn't seen my opponent's cards, I think I would be forced into it. I know it feels bad, and you probably lose the game anyway because they would have just pinged. But anyway, TingTing is going to come back into it. It's going to be 2-1.
The thought process, I guess, for Ben there was that he might be holding onto a Fireball, and then Fireball ping kills me anyway, so he pings first, then Fireballs.
Yep.
So that could have been a thought process. But you had 1 mana, right? You play around that risk of Pyroblast, in my opinion.
I think it's easy for us to say because we could see the hand, and it seems like an obvious one. But
okay, you were dead anyway. If he had Fireball ping, you were dead anyway. Why not eliminate one of the risks by playing eye for an eye? So
I mean, I agree. I would have played it, but I can understand the thought process from Ben not to.
What was the thought process not to?
Just that, as you said, the Fireball ping. He thought that might come through, but I guess why not take the risk is what we're going for. Yeah.
I said that Fireball ping. He was dead anyway. If he had Fireball ping.
Yeah.
I guess the thought process is that maybe he just pings my face, and then and it doesn't have the follow up, and then I've wasted eye for an eye. But personally, I think I would have played it.
But at that point, your back's against the wall, and you take the risk. He lost anyway because even if he plays the secret, I think TingTing just pings and then deals with the board.
Absolutely,
and then
TingTing had an ice block in hand, right?
Yeah.
So he had at least 2 turns.
And I guess that's probably what Ben was thinking as well. Like, meh, this is over. My only hope is to hope that he doesn't have the damage now. But we move into game number 4. Ben will continue with his Paladin, and now TingTing is going to move across back to his Druid. And not an amazing start this time for Ben, but still, that Rockpool Hunter is going to get its value, followed by Getaway Kodo. It's certainly something that TingTing needs to try and keep up with. Does have more of his minion generation this time. Has the Jade Spirits, has Jade Blossom as well if he wants to use it, and then the Gadget Zan Auctioneer to refill his hand if he gets some spells later, although there's another one.
Absolutely.
If he doesn't get those spells, then they might become a little bit clunky.
Yeah, I think you're right. But like we said, he has got the Wild Growths. He has got the Jade Generation. So he's definitely off to a flying start. But look at Ben. Got a very threatening board already, gone wide very early on. No Wraths, no swipes. Definitely Ben in a good position. However, he needs a good follow-up here. He could just use Getaway Kodo and then Hero Power, however. But, you know, something like a Gentle Megasaur off the top, if he's running it, I think he's... I don't think I've seen it. He is running it?
Yeah, he is.
He is running it.
It was in his hand, but because his hand was just so full.
So full, yeah.
Like, it just got stuck in the middle. And he never had a Murloc board to play onto, apart from his early one that was just swept away.
Oh,
and, well,
there we
it is.
go.
You asked the question, and Hearthstone answered.
Gentle Megasaur off the top. 3 Murlocs to adapt. +1/+1. Or Hero Powers. I like +1/+1 to try and play around swipe. But you also could maybe get the 1/1 plants. But I quite like +1/+1 here.
Yeah, Volcanic Might or Living Spores seem okay. I think he would have liked Divine Shield.
Because if you're going to swipe the Gentle Megasaur anyway. So Liquid Membrane not as huge. But I like Volcanic Might to sort of take them off anywhere near swipe level. I think this might be too much for TingTing to deal with.
Yeah, he's got very little response.
He's going to have to Wild Growth.
That's another Rockpool Hunter as well.
And also, Stampeding Kodo deals with one of these minions straight away. You trade your 3/2 in maybe, and then you just go face with everything else. You might not even have to trade your 3/2 in. You could just keep going face with everything. You've got Rockpool Hunter, like you said, too. Getaway Kodo as well.
And this is why the Murloc Paladin has seen so much success, because after such a fast-paced start, it can be unanswerable sometimes. The Gentle Megasaur is the real MVP, to be honest.
Absolutely.
You can just easily crush a game. A Divine Shield would have been equally as awkward for TingTing to have to work around.
Absolutely. He's going to go face, and he's going to make the decision at the end whether to take this value trade or just continue to pressure face. He's got lethal next turn anyway, so happy to take the value trade, ask the questions of the Druid. I think it's going to have to be Gadget Zan Auctioneer Feral Rage to just keep him in the game. But what are you hoping to get from it?
At this point, you're not hoping for much except just to survive and hope that the game answers that question for you. When you're losing this quickly, sometimes you just go into the thought process of
how do I not die next turn?
Yeah, it doesn't even become what are my outs. It becomes, oh, I just need to survive and hope for the best.
So he's got +3 damage here, and he's already got 9.
He's got +2 damage from the Steed, you mean?
Oh, Steed, yes, sorry. I was counting Rockpool Hunter as well, but he doesn't have the mana for it. But I think you do that, you can trade into the Gadget Zan Auctioneer, then just go face with everything else, and then you've got lethal next turn again. Yeah,
you take away the Auctioneer, you don't give him any options of outs, and you continue to go face, and yeah, this is game over. It means that
there's no way you can deal with this, even if you get another Feral Rage, right? Even if you get Earthen Scales. Don't even think Primordial Drake saves you because of the equality.
Nope, Primordial Drake will not save you. There's nothing for TingTing. It means Ben is actually going to move on to the grand final of our live finals. So 4 players will be competing in our live finals. We will continue the bracket play when it gets to that position, and Ben will be waiting there in the final to see who he's going to be facing off. TingTing, however, is going to drop into that lower bracket, but I believe he also will have a chance to compete at the live finals as well, depending on how the lower bracket does play out.
He's in the second round of the lower bracket now, right? So he has to win less than his other lower bracket opponents.
Needs to win one more to make his way to the live finals. But congratulations to Ben, who is going to be sitting pretty at the live finals. A good victory from him. We thought that TingTing might be able to pull it out because of his deck choices, but in the end, it felt for me that TingTing was heavily expecting a lot of Gunther Mage. He didn't